My name is Matt Wilhelmi, and I'm the author of Taboo Business Questions, What's Haunting Every Entrepreneur's Growth. And today I'm with my good friend, Bruno Hilgart, the author of French Fry Leadership. And this is our second segment. I'm really looking forward to talking about this topic in his book. It's kind of the premise of the book, which is leadership, but more specifically, it is the result of taking care of your people and how that works in the organization. And he uses the term servant leadership. Bruno, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just unpack that a little bit, because I think a lot of people hear servant leadership and they don't really understand what it means.
Right. Thanks, Matt. You know, the title of the book, French Fry Leadership, How to Attain Profits Through Serving People, is the premise is when we properly take care of our people in all ways, the numbers magically take care of themselves. It leads to less turnover. It leads to longer average tenure, which is going to help productivity. It's going to companies are going to have to spend less time sourcing, onboarding, training, and retaining people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of companies who their training program is here's what you need to do and figure it out. And that's why there's unfortunately a revolving door too often. That's not taking care of our people. Investing in leaders, though, is critical to attaining the numbers, because too often people get put in leadership positions because they were good at something. I may have mentioned this in the last segment, but just because somebody's good at something does not mean they're going to be good at leading and motivating others to be in that same something. I use the example of Whopper sandwiches. You know, we have somebody who's with us a long time. They have tenure. They are trustworthy. They're at the top of their pay scale. We can't pay them anymore to make Whopper sandwiches too much. So doesn't it make sense on the surface to say, hey, let's promote this person because we can pay them more money. That'll make them happy, keep them longer. And we most likely will create more people like this person. Makes sense. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. And too often, that's what companies do. They promote people to fail.
And that's such an interesting concept. It also reminds me of the Peter Principle, which basically states that people get promoted until they reach a position where they're no longer competent. So basically, they're promoted past their level of competency. And I've seen that a lot. You know, a lot of times, business owners can become a business owner because they're a great technician, but that doesn't make them a good leader. Right. Or maybe they're a really great salesperson. They can make it rain. They make the deals come in. They're good talkers. You know, people like them, but that doesn't always make them a good leader. In my book, Taboo Business Questions, What's Haunting Every Entrepreneur's Growth, I do want to kind of call out a section here because I feel like it ties into this topic of leadership. And it's these 4 qualities of empowering business leaders. And quality number 1 is a competence builder. So to your point, Bruno, you know, if you're a leader, you better be able to teach your team how to be more competent at everybody's job. It's one who inspires others to constantly improve. Got to be able to do that. Number 2, a demonstratable processor. So it's one who can actually demonstrate the entire process from start to finish, not just a specialist in one category, but actually knows all of it. Number 3 is an articulate expector. This is somebody who effectively communicates expectations and builds consensus. I think it's so important because if you're not able to articulate what it is you want somebody to do, you're not going to be a good leader. You're probably not a good teacher. Yep. But number 4 is probably the one I wanted to spend the most time talking about and get your feedback on, because this is the vision caster. This is the person who describes a consistent vision that's very vivid and reminds others of it all the time. You know, I think about some of the best leaders that I've worked for, or maybe even just read about, and they're just maniacal about the future. You know, it's almost like they want to create the future, but the whole team has bought it. And I'm just curious how that relates to maybe the Whopper and some of the things that you've seen at Burger King.
Well, I think you've really uncovered 4 great points there. And I was thinking about what you're saying in relation to my career. And I used to get a chuckle out of people. They thought I was going home and reading Burger King manuals every night. Okay. And I wasn't, but I knew my stuff. but it was because I was very passionate about what we're doing. I used to get so excited over hot, salty, crispy French fries. I mean, we would coach our teams from day one. Let me give you an example of how we coached people about something so important in our business and any business really is punctuality and dependability. You see that sign outside, Matt, that says 2 Whoppers for $6? We can't put a message up there that says, "Hi, welcome to Burger King. Sorry your service is slow, the bathrooms are trashed, the Whopper's sloppily put together, and everybody's stressed out, but Matt didn't come to work today. May I help you?" And see, that's what happens where if 6 people are scheduled and only 5 show up.
Wow.
So you have to frame things as a leader. You have to frame things in real world terms. When people come into a Burger King restaurant, they typically order a sandwich of some sort, a side item of some sort, and a drink. So let's imagine the person walks in, and we used to visualize this in front of our teams. Person drives on the parking lot. They get out of the car. They walk in, and I'm going to be honest, 70% of the business in the drive-through now, but this still applies. The drive-through window is like the dining room table for the guest, okay? So they get out of the car, they walk into the restaurant. There's not a cigarette butt to be found. The landscaping is immaculate. They open up the doors. There's no smudges. They don't even know this is happening, but they just feel it. They don't realize the baseboards are spotless, but they just feel it. And they walk in and somebody greets them with a smile, and they place their order. They don't wait very long for it. They move over to the beverage center. They fill up their drink, and everything's wiped down. Everything's clean. There's no splatters of anything. Then they go sit down. The tables are not dirty. There's not a bunch of trays piled up everywhere. They bite into that Whopper sandwich. It's amazing. They take a sip of that soda, and it's crisp. It's cool. It's what it should be. And then they bite into that French fry, and oh my gosh, the fries are cold. The fries are soggy.
Yikes.
We have just ruined the entire experience. That is how we frame things for everybody about what you are doing each day is important, no matter what it is. Whether it's doing dishes, taking drive-through orders, or making Whopper sandwiches, or making French fries, it's all important. And so it's up to leadership to frame those things as being important. And you bring up these points in your 4 examples of how do leaders get that commitment from their people. And it's because they have to be passionate about it. There's a chapter in my book called Love What You Do or Learn to Love What You Do. And it's up to leadership and C-suites and owners to understand that getting their people excited about what they do each day, whether it's making screws, making tires, or making Whoppers, is all worthwhile work.
Wow, that's great. You know, it makes me think about a principle that I read about restaurants specifically, but it's this idea of consistency. And it's the number one reason why restaurants go out of business is a lack of consistency. When you go to a restaurant, you want the same experience every time. That's why fast food restaurants are so successful, because they figured that out. Especially the Burger Kings of the world, and maybe McDonald's, if you want to put that in the same category. Sorry for giving them a quick shout out on this interview. But, restaurants that have kind of the same experience every time, people aren't going there because it's the absolute best gourmet burger ever. That's not why.
Right.
It's because of the consistency. They know where they're going. They know what they're going to get. They're already probably thinking about it. And it's the same every single time. The restaurants that go out of business are the ones that did a really great one time, and then a change in leadership, and now, well, we don't really care anymore.
Right.
And the burgers are made sloppily, or maybe the baseboards are dirty, like you mentioned, and people just don't care as much. People notice when they don't care. They might not notice when they're perfect all the time, but
right.
If you're trying to do a restaurant and you're trying to get it going, and your number 2 isn't your number 2 every single time somebody comes for 5 years, you've failed the consistency part of leadership in your business, because everybody wants to have the same experience. It's just so calculated, especially in the restaurant world.
It's called branding in our world.
There you go.
It's branding, and McDonald's is McDonald's because of that. There's a reason the color of my book is similar to their colors, okay, and not Burger King colors, because McDonald's is the gold standard when it comes to branding. When you're driving down the road, to your point, in Podunk, Iowa, and you see Matt's Pizza, best pizza in the valley, and Bruno's Burgers, whatever, and you see McDonald's, and if you don't live there, where are you going to go? Just what you said, you know what you're going to pay for. You're going to pay for it. You know what it's going to taste like. You know what the experience is going to be like. And it's all about consistency because, like in any business, if you're great 9 times and 1 time you're not, which one are they going to remember? Which one are they going to tell their friends about? So we're only as good as our last visit. We're only as good as our last shift. And that's how we coached it.
That's great. Well, I'm really looking forward to unpacking our third segment. Again, I'm here with Bruno Hilgart. My name is Matt Wilhelmi. I'm the author of Taboo Business Questions. Stay tuned for our third segment.